Hi and welcome back everyone. So now we're going to look into this request that's been sent, which is to give a breakdown of what products are commonly purchased together and any products that are rarely purchased together. So let's have a look at the query first. Okay, so just in MySQL Workbench, I'm going to open up a new SQL tab. And the first thing I want to do is just show all columns from the order details table. So we don't actually need to see the orders table. We can just use the order details table and bring in the product. So we want to join the product table to this on the product code. So if you remember on our columns in the products table, you can see product code is the primary key. So let's just do an inner join of the products table. T2 on the product code. Okay, and then now we're going to have the name of the product and the product line. So we're going to actually use product line to see what product lines are purchased together commonly. Okay, so we don't want to display all the columns. So we'll just bring in the order number. And we want to bring the product code because we need the breakdown of products in each order. And then also we'll bring in the product line. Okay, so let's just run this. I've got an error. Okay, so product code is ambiguous. Yep, so we'll just bring it from the first table. And now we can see. Okay, so if we actually ordered this output by the order number, we'll have 3 different product codes. Sometimes the product line will be the same, however. So for example, for order 10100, all 4 products were in the vintage cars product line. So what we want to do is we'll create a CTE with this output, or a subquery, but I prefer CTE. So we'll just name it prod sales, and then this will be our table. So let's just select star from prod sales. Again, we're going to get the same output. But what we can do, we can left join this table or CTE to itself, and we want to join it on the order number being equal to the same table's order number, but the product line also not being equal to the product line. So let's just try that. We will display all the columns just for example, and I will left join prod sales again, but this time we'll name it T2, and we'll join it on T1 dot order number equals T2 dot order number, and T1 dot product line is not equal to T2 dot product line. So you can join on multiple conditions. So this means that both conditions have to be met for the join to happen. So let's just run this query. Now if we order this, we'll order it by T1's order number. So you remember T1, the product line was the same for all, so we're not going to get any results in our second table. And that's because our second condition here is not being met. Product line not equal to T2's product line. But if we do scroll down, you can see that sometimes it will be met because order number 10103. So for the classic cars product code, it has been purchased with trucks and buses. Okay, so we'll not bring back all these columns, but what we want to display is the order number, product line from the first table, and we'll name that product 1, and also product line from the second table, and we'll name it product 2. So since there's multiple products purchased, we're going to see duplications. So we have classic cars, we see the same product, but it's matching multiple products from the second table, even though they're in the same product line. So we want to select distinct list of order number, product line 1 and product line 2s, just to see which product lines are purchased together. So to do that, we can just change this star to a distinct, and it will be order number T1 dot product line, and we'll name that as product underscore 1 and T2 dot product line, and we'll name that product 2. I have an error again. Okay, order number ambiguous. So we'll just bring back T1's order number. And now that returns each order number, product 1 and product 2. And as we know, the first order, 10100, only vintage cars were purchased. So that just shows one row with vintage cars as product 1, and there is no product 2. That's different to product 1. So you will notice that, let's scroll down, for example, we have quite a few products being purchased together. So we have multiple order numbers. But if you look at 10108, for example, so we have classic cars were purchased with motorcycles. But this same purchase is going to display again because motorcycles will be product 1 and classic cars will be product 2. But that's okay, the trend will still be the same, because this happens for every order. So if we want to copy all of this data into Excel, let's just select a row on the left and then the top corner again, and then we'll just click Control and C. And then you can open up your Excel spreadsheet. And now we can just add a new sheet. And I'm going to right click and match destination formatting, just so it doesn't bring in the large rows like before. And I just like to delete this empty column, highlight our cells, and just double click one of the cells so that they all expand. And just before we create our pivot table, I would just like to highlight all our data here by Control Shift right and then down, and then find and replace. So at the top right, we can just select find and select, then replace, if you remember from our Netflix tutorials. So we're finding any blank and we're just going to replace it with none. And then if we just select replace all, it will do that for us. And that will just show none as product 2 for any time there was no products purchased together. Different product, I should say. Product lines. So we'll just insert a pivot table from this data. Because we have a lot of space here, I'm just going to keep it in our existing worksheet. And now we can just put product 1 on our rows, product 2 on our columns. So sometimes this will be none, as you know. And then we can count our order number. So it automatically sums it whenever we drag it in, but if we just select value field settings, we'll do a distinct count. So you will notice that because we're counting distinct order numbers, the rows don't add up to the grand total because the grand total shows distinct order numbers as well. But the same order number may fall into multiple products here. So maybe we'll actually just show it. We'll change this to a count all. So the actual numbers of products purchased won't change, but the totals will. And I think it's a better view to show these. So if you right click in the pivot table, we can show our values as percent of row total. And what this is showing is, for example, of classic cars, 9.28% were purchased with motorcycles. 30% was purchased with a vintage car. 11% weren't purchased with any other product category. So I think this is a better way of visualizing it rather than showing actual values. So we can remove our grand totals here. We don't need to see them. To remove our grand total, we can go to design at the top here. And on the left hand side, there's grand totals. We can turn them off for rows and columns. And now we can highlight our values which are large and small using conditional formatting. So let's just highlight all our columns here with a value. And if we go to the home page, conditional formatting in the middle here, color scales, it will automatically color the values, the background, depending on if it's a high or a low value. So red and green, for example here, the dark green color just stands out that trucks and buses are very commonly purchased with classic cars. Okay, so you will notice that because our product 1 and 2 are the same, they're all going to be 0%. But there are some which haven't been purchased together, such as trains and motorcycles. So, and yeah, there's a few other ones. So we can just leave it like this, and the final thing I want to do is just rename this tab, Products Purchased Together. And then I'm just going to save my workbook here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And if you do have any questions or feedback, please let me know in the Q&A. Now in the next video, we're going to work on our third exercise. So I'll see you there.